What's going on, everybody? King of Dragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Gorilla Grodd from Injustice 2. And so here we have the McFarlane Injustice 2 Gorilla Grodd posed and out of the packaging. Now, unfortunately, Gorilla Grodd only comes with one accessory, and that is a McFarlane display base. Other than that, Gorilla Grodd here is a little bit light on accessories, but where he's light on accessories, he makes up for in detail, and this is a really nicely detailed figure. Even though he's not 100% accurate to the base model of Injustice 2, I still really do like this costume. So, with that out of the way, guys, let's actually take a closer look at Gorilla Grodd. And so here we have a closer look at Gorilla Grodd. Now, I didn't mention that this is not base game model Grodd. And what I mean by that is in Injustice 2 you can customize your character, giving them different armor and abilities. And that's what this Gorilla Grodd is. It's amalgamation of, I believe this is called the soldier armor. I could be mistaken. I haven't picked up Injustice 2 in a really long time. And all the images I could look for did call this armor set the soldier armor, and that's what I'm going to go with. It might be called something different, it might not, but like I said, just for what it is in game, this is the soldier armor. This is not base model Grodd. Grodd in his base armor did not have a gold armor. He kind of had like a red chest plate with silver armor and a somewhat tiara shaped helmet. But I really do like this armor on Grodd. I think this should have been his base model in-game, just because it does make him look more regal and more ferocious than his standard armor. So, having a look at the head, there's a lot of detail in here. For one, it looks a lot like a gorilla, which is what you would expect Grodd to look like. My only problem with the head is that his jaw is actually molded like this. We don't have a hinged jaw like we saw on the Devastator, which is a little bit unfortunate, because I would have liked to see an articulated jaw here on Gorilla Grodd. But that's not to say it's a bad look. I really do like the screaming gorilla look, and they did a really good job coloring in his fangs, his tongue. Everything on his mouth is painted beautifully. Then we go on to his eyes, where you can see they are recessed behind his helmet. Those really piercing orange eyes. And then we do have his gorilla face right there. One thing I do like is that the armor is soft in places, so it doesn't really impede articulation too much. Although, based on what he looks like, you can expect that he doesn't have the traditional articulation that you would expect from action figures. But overall, really do like this head sculpt. Now, looking at his torso, I really do like how intricate this torso armor is. Just look at all that detailing right here. And if we can just raise or move his arm back. Yeah, just look at how detailed this armor is. So nice, so beautiful. It looks good. It is made of a marbleized gold plastic, so you do have some swirly twirlies in there. I honestly don't mind it as much as a lot of people. A lot of people treat it like it's the worst thing in the world. There's worse things, especially when they try painting the plastic and it looks terrible. This is one instance where I think the swirly twirly plastic looks good. It catches the light just right, and it does add some detailing, especially when you have it looking like there's cracks in the skulls right here. That's really nice. And like I said, most of the armor is soft. As you can see, I can squish it, and it does get out of the way for articulation. One thing I didn't notice is that these spikes, even though they are soft, they are very dense, so these still poke you if you're not too careful with it. Even though it is still a soft pauldron, these are very dense spikes, so those can poke you. It's not like his spike right here where it's soft. These ones, even though they are soft, again, seeing as how they're really dense, you can see I really can't put too much, or I can put some force behind them, and it actually leaves an indent on my finger. Those spikes can cause problems if you're not too careful. Really do like the skulls here on his armor, just done exceptionally well. Having a look at his back plate, you can see he is wearing back armor with this ornate pattern. It looks really good. I do like it. Moving on to his, it's not really a breastplate, but his stomach plate right here, continuing that ornate design. Really liking that. We We have some more of the intricate design right here on his gauntlet, going all the way down to his I guess that's still part of his gauntlet, right? The pieces on his hand. Now you can see a difference in plastic here. This is the swirly twirly plastic. This is actually painted gold. I understand why they did that, because in order to get that the same consistency, his hand would have had to be in swirly twirly gold metallic plastic, and they just didn't want to do that, so they just painted his hand with gold paint here on the armor, and it does work. Under my lighting, yeah, you can tell it's a different shade, but overall it's still a pretty good look. I'm not too upset about it. So continuing on to his belt here, you can see they added some detailing. This might seem like they kind of skimmed on the paint, but the armor that this is based off of is just one solid color, so I really can't fault them for going with this route. It does save money on paint. However, I'm not a fan of the way well, I am a fan of the armor. I just would have liked to see base form Grodd along with an intricate variant Grodd like this, because I think having two different versions of this character in different armor would have been really nice. Again, we do have his greaves right here, which these are soft plastic, so they do bend, and they aren't as dense as his shoulder spikes, so I do appreciate that. We do have another piece of gold paint right here on his fourth toe right there. Not fourth toe, four toe, so his second toe right here does have gold armor on it. And one thing I do like is that they did a really good job of detailing his foot. It looks like a gorilla foot, so McFarlane has done an exceptional job there making this Gorilla Grodd look like a gorilla. However, I do feel like his arms could have been just a little bit longer. That's one gripe I have, because it really is hard to get him in a lot of generic gorilla poses, because I feel like his arms are just a little too short. That or his legs are too long, but no, it's not his legs, it's his arms. His arms are too short. For a gorilla, he has really short arms. So that's Gorilla Grodd for you guys. So what we're going to do now is get him compared to other figures you may have in your collection. And so here we have Gorilla Grodd posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and a DC Multiverse Superman. Here we have Gorilla Grodd posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure and a Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. Here we have Gorilla Grodd posed next to a Lightning Collection White Ranger and a Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian. And finally, here we have the McFarlane Gorilla Grodd posed next to the Injustice 2 Flash. So with the comparisons out of the way, let's actually have a look at Gorilla Grodd's articulation. Now, as you would expect, he doesn't have the standard human articulation. There are some pieces of articulation that could be better on him. Some of it is hindered due to his armor, but for the most part, his articulation works perfectly. So for starters, he does have a double ball joint in the head, so he can look up quite a bit. I really do like that. And then he can look down quite a bit as well, so really good head movement going up and down. He can tilt his head to the side, so really good style posing with that. You can give him a lot of attitude, so I do really like that. Head, it does swivel perfectly. It's not in an off angle unless you move it down, so really do like that head movement. So his shoulders are a ball joint going into the torso, so those do have a butterfly joint going forward and back. Not the best we've seen, but it's still something, and it can pivot up and down. Shoulders do go out to the side to about there, and because the pauldrons are a softer plastic, they do get out of the way, and they go over his traps right there, so really do like that. Arm does a full 360, not at all hindered. We do have a bicep swivel, which works pretty good. And one thing I do like is that the shoulder armor is actually attached to his bicep, so it does rotate independently of his shoulder. So you can actually have him like guarding his chest a little more or guarding his back, depending on how you have that rotated. So we do have a really nice bicep swivel. We also do have a swivel here in the elbow, so that does get out of the way as you need it to. So we do have a rotation in the elbow as well as a hinge, so that's pretty unique to Grodd. I don't think any other McFarlane figures have had that so far. Then for his hand, we only get a traditional swivel hinge, so it does rotate all the way around, but then we only have an in and out hinge. There's no ball joint on there, so it doesn't get up and down movement. It's just in and out which is a little bit unfortunate. Then we do have a ball joint here at the torso, and I want to say it might be a double ball joint, but I'm pretty sure it's just a single ball joint. He does lean back about that far. Can't really lean too far forward, and it does rotate right here as well as some side to side, but most of the side to side is going to be at the bottom joint. As you can see, working them together, we get some pretty good rocking action. Does rotate really nicely. Leans back quite a bit. Leans forward. It could be better, especially for a gorilla. You want him to be able to get on his knuckles, which unfortunately this figure can't do. And that's one knock against this figure that I do have to point out. His hips do go out to the side, only to about right there. They don't get a full split, but I think that's pretty good for a gorilla. Legs do go forward only to about there. And his knee is always going to be at this permanent angle. It doesn't straighten out anymore, and his leg only goes up to about that far. Again, the anatomy of a gorilla is completely different from a human, so I'm not faulting the figure. It's just the way a gorilla would articulate. Going back, no problem. We do have somewhat of a thigh swivel here on Grodd, so I do appreciate that we get at least a thigh swivel to help with posing. We only get a single bend here at the knee, and it only goes back a little past, well, actually just at 90, which that is unfortunate because you can't get his leg straightened. And yeah, it's the same for both legs. It's not because I'm not trying. The leg just doesn't go past this angle, which is a little bit unfortunate, but again, gorilla anatomy. So we do have a standard hinge here in his foot. No ball hinge, so it doesn't rotate. We actually do get rotation up here at his shin, so that's nice. Again, just a regular hinge at the foot. We do have forward-facing pin for rocker ankle, and of course we have a toe hinge. So overall, Gorilla Grodd has some pretty decent articulation. For a gorilla, I'd say it's pretty good articulation, but we have seen other companies do gorilla figures with better articulation. So yeah, unfortunately, Gorilla Grodd here just misses the mark just by a little bit. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get him posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And so here we have the McFarlane DC Multiverse Injustice 2 Gorilla Grodd posed for my final thoughts. And overall, I still think this is a really nice figure. McFarlane has done an amazing job detailing the armor on this figure. I am a little bit surprised that they did not go with base game model for Grodd, seeing as how they did go with base game model for Flash. I just wonder if they're going to do base game model for Doctor Strange, or if they're going to give him one of his armor sets. I really do hope we get the base form for Dr. Fate, but Gorilla Grodd here is still a really impressive figure. Now, a lot of people might be turned off on this figure because of his size. I think he scaled just perfectly for the game. He wasn't oversized as you would see him in most media, but he was about the same size as most of the other characters. So in terms of scale, this actually works for your Injustice 2 display. Now, unfortunately, at the time I'm making this video, there's only really two characters from Injustice 2 that McFarlane has made, and that is Gorilla Grodd and Flash. That's it. I know we are getting a premium colored Gorilla Grodd where he's wearing silver instead of gold, but it's not a different armor, so I'm really not too inclined to pick it up. I'm actually quite happy with this set of armor that they gave Grodd. I think the gold plastic does look really nice. Even though it is that swirly twirly marbleized plastic, it still looks really nice on the figure, and it does help highlight some of the detailing on him. If you're lucky enough to find this figure, definitely pick him up, especially if you're a fan of the Flash and you need some Flash rogues in your collection. Gorilla Grodd here will fit in nicely. Even though it is a very specific Gorilla Grodd, I still think you can pick this figure up and use him as either a Gorilla Grunt or a Gorilla Grodd, depending on what you want to do. It's your figure, you do what you want. This is still a really impressive figure in my opinion. At the time I'm making this video, I did find Gorilla Grodd at Target. Now, I do believe that Target has the exclusive rights to Gorilla Grodd and Flash at the time I'm making this video. Flash and Gorilla Grodd will be available on Amazon and Walmart, but in the meantime, they are only available on Target. I have seen them on Amazon pop up once in a while, but Target seems to be the only place that carries them consistently. So if you are looking for a Gorilla Grodd, Target is your place to check, and he will run you $19.99, which is the standard for McFarlane figures. With that being said, guys, I'm King of Dragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and check out all my other action figure reviews as well as all my other DC Multiverse videos. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you would like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it's in my collection, I'll definitely have a look at it. While you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, and as always, ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.